and one. We're live.
This is Bruno Larvol. I'm the founder of the Larvol Group. We provide software and data solutions for the pharmaceutical and healthcare industry. And this is LARVOL and Friends, a weekly interview discussion with someone who's part of the LARVOL network. Sometimes it's someone who's currently working with us. Sometimes it's someone who used to work with LARVOL. That's the case today with Gil Solano. Sometimes it's someone who is not working with us, but one day maybe could. And the topic ranges from the domain we're in, healthcare data, but sometimes it's also a very different topic. At times we talk about NFTs or crypto or the metaverse or art. And today with Gil, we're going to talk about his very interesting career journey from entrepreneur, then working with us and back to be an entrepreneur. And he can tell us about what he learned from an entrepreneurial standpoint. And at the end, Gil, what we always do that we ask our guests to give a phrase, a takeaway that we can leave with the audience. So you can think about that as we talk for about half an hour, and at the end we'll make sure that that lesson, that takeaway, that phrase stays with our audience. So welcome to the
Sure.
program.
Well, thank you, Bruno. Yes, I'll make it very profound, and just give me a little bit of time to think about it, though.
Of course, you have a full 30 minutes.
Very good.
Now there might be a little bit of an echo. I don't know if Shahir can hear it or suggest a tweak, but I can hear our voice twice. So hopefully that's not the case too much for the audience. So Shahir, jump in if either myself or Gil needs to adjust our
Mhm.
our audio.
Sure, no problem. I'll
Okay,
let
now
you know.
assume that's not the case. Okay, all right, super. So I know Gil for a couple of years now, and I just want to say a couple of words before Gil, I ask you to maybe describe your professional journey and your background. We worked together, and Gil was one of our account executives and was an absolute superstar. And what always impressed me, Gil, about you and your work is how much of a natural you were in communicating with intent, communicating with
Mm,
not just a sell intent, but genuine interest and engagement with a
mhm.
prospect or with an existing customer. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that just to make you feel special, but among all the people I worked with, you're the one or one of the one that has that most natural sense of report. And I think that's wonderful. So I wanted to start with a little compliment. Now I can pass the baton to you.
Well, thank you, Bruno. I appreciate that. Yeah. So I guess I can start there. So I just to kind of add on to that, I appreciate the compliment. I think that in a situation or in a role of influence, or if you're trying to persuade, or if you're trying to gain the interest of other people to your product, I think you have to, first of all, you have to believe in your product. And that is one thing I definitely believed in Larval. I saw firsthand how great the solutions were to my customers. I quickly saw that maybe 2-3 months into working at Larval, how beneficial it was for my customers to have that power in their hands. It's information, and of course, information is power, the old cliche. And so I felt like that was kind of easy, right? Is to believe in the product. And once you believe in the product, if you've ever, and I feel like everyone has done this. If you have ever seen a show or watched a show that you absolutely love, and you tell your friend about it, um, it comes across natural because you believe in it. It's a great show that you think that this other person that you're telling would like, and it comes really natural, and that's kind of the angle, or the take or process, if you will, of when I was working for LARVOL, communicating with the customers is that I truly did believe in the work that everyone was doing. And I think that's kind of a hack, a sales hack, is you just have to believe in the product, and you try to find where it's valuable.
There is something else that you're a great example of in these interactions with customers. And I think it has to do with your voice, actually. I think that the voice has to have a certain energy that makes the other side who's listening energized. And I think part of it is practice and intent. Part of it perhaps comes from natural skills. You might have both, but there's something about the energy of your voice that I think you're aware is a great professional asset that you have. And on top of that, the other thing you have is that, and I think is genuine, by the way, I think it's hard to fake, is that you care about the person you're talking with. And it's not just that you care, you like them, right? By default, right? Before even, sometime I'm sure you, at some point, some people you don't like, but you start from a point of liking them. And I think that's a great, I don't know if it's a hack. I think it's actually a personality trait that you have, many people have, is that the first starting point is always a starting point of caring and being positive about the person.
Yes.
And that's very powerful.
Yeah, absolutely, Bruno. I think, in life in general, you have to, it's beneficial to like people, to give people the benefit of the doubt, because there are so many opportunities to be had if you're networking. I mean, for instance, my wife and I moved to a new town, and we have a ton of friends because, a lot of it is to do with just, getting out there and networking with people. And, a lot of people have this, this bad, it seems like networking has a bad connotation to it, because it's like you think of a used salesperson when you think of networking, maybe. And I don't think so. I think, everyone networks, whether it's because you're, nice to, your mechanic, because you want them to do a good job, or you're nice to your child's teacher because you want them to like your child and put effort into teaching your child. I think everyone networks, and it's a great thing. And if you come about it with the angle of the opportunity to network instead of the obligation to network, I think you start thinking about it in a totally different way. So anytime I engage with the customer, I feel like, wow, this is a great opportunity for me to know about this person, how lucky I am to be in the position where I'm talking to someone who could have an influence in my life in any direction, either because they're a customer and they buy my product, or they're a friend who I can rely on, and or have great communication with in a new town. If you approach it with the thought of, this is a great opportunity, this is a great time to actually meet and get something from someone, and also provide value to that person, I think it kind of changes the way you talk. It changes your enthusiasm. It changes your energy. You see that in social settings when friends get together. You see kind of their faces light up. Or if you're talking with somebody and someone is walking down the street and they recognize that person, you automatically see an enthusiasm in their face and in their tone. And I feel like that carries a lot of weight whenever you're trying to network with someone professionally. And I think maybe that's what you caught on to, and I appreciate you seeing that.
The other point behind what you're saying is the idea of, is it a transactional communication, or is it a relational moment in some way? So when we talk with someone through a call, or maybe it's a cold call, or maybe someone we meet at a conference, and you're famous for having built strong relationships at conference, or in the evening after conferences, we might tell the story about how a misunderstanding of what I was trying to say led to a lot of fun time between you, me, and another person in the industry. But if we look at these communications as an opportunity to build what could become a long-term, enjoyable, maybe even non-professional relationship, with as opposed to a transaction, right? I pitch, you either buy or you don't buy. If it's a relationship, even if you don't sell something, the relationship not only can be helpful, hopefully is enjoyable no matter what. And then the other beautiful thing is that relationships compound. It's like interest-free investment, right? Weirdly, you talk with someone for 5 minutes or 10 minutes at a conference. You talk with them 1 year later. They remember you a little bit. You connected on LinkedIn. Somehow, in a very powerful way, that relationship compounded for 1 year, gave you dividend.
Sure.
The relationship is a 1 year relationship. It's incredible when you think about it. It's extremely powerful. And so looking at it as a relationship, as you do, and I've seen you do, is extremely powerful, not just for sale, but for business building, for entrepreneurial. And so our audience, certainly that's to me a very powerful point about business.
Absolutely. And I think, transactional and relational aren't really that far apart. I mean, of course, whenever I say, I'm speaking with somebody to get something out of them and for me to add value to them as well, that happens in every relationship that you're in, right? So my wife, I provide a loving, caring, safe place for her to unwind and feel loved and be supported. And same with her. She supports me. She is there for me. That you could consider that transactional. And so I think if you think about it as, again, going back to the opportunity to just experiencing someone else, it's definitely transactional because there's a transfer of value being passed back and forth. I think you can get yourself in trouble when you make it only about the other person providing value to you. That's that you can get yourself into trouble both in relationships and professionally. If I only took from my friends or my family, even they would have some type of boundary where they say, hey, listen, you can't just continue to take or use me. So I think it's, you have to look at professional relationships the same way. I think if you go into a conversation with the only goal in your mind is to get something from them, you're already starting, in the negative, because that is easily shown. You can really tell when a person is trying to sell you something. You can tell it in the way they counter, I guess, a sentence that's not going their way. So, for instance, if I'm talking to someone who's trying to sell me something, and I say, yeah, I like your product, but this, and that, a salesperson who's really not in tune with that will say, yeah, of course, but think about the good things, and they kind of shun away or sweep under the rug the opinion of the person that they're talking to, because they want that person to buy their product. I think it's a much more advantageous or caring approach and relatable approach if you can talk to that customer, and whenever they say, yeah, but here are my problems with it, and you actually listen to them and you state back to them, you tell them that you understand what their issue is, and you kind of own it, and then maybe you offer a solution afterwards instead of just sweeping it under the rug. And I think that's kind of part of it is you truly do have to care about the person that you're talking to, because you do not want to sell them something that they won't use, because that's not caring for them. You're literally just trying to get money from them. And so if you approach any relationship with, I'm going to provide value to that person's going to provide value to me in any situation, even if they're not buying your product, you can learn from them. And you can really get excited about that opportunity, because every opportunity or every conversation with someone is a chance to learn, and it's a chance to better yourself. And I think anyone would want to get excited about an opportunity to grow. And so you kind of have to, once you start thinking about that in every interaction that you have, it'll become natural, and you'll get to have that energy or that enthusiasm when you're talking to people.
So here's a tough question, though. Remember Glengarry Glen Ross, Alec Baldwin, right, in the boardroom, ABC, always be closing, coffees for closers. Now, if you have, and maybe you had that experience where you see a path to close a deal, a sell, an opportunity, but deep down, you sort of sense that this is not the right product for the customer. They just, either they don't understand what your product provides, or they overestimate the value in their particular case. So are you trying to close that customer sell opportunity, or are you going to pass essentially and clarify that perhaps instead of just closing and you see a path to that, would you take a detour to make sure that it's a right product for them? How do you deal with it? That's a dilemma, right? For someone doing sales in particular.
That point is you have to make it clear, and you have to state the obvious, or you're not a good salesperson. If they're confused about the value that it brings to them, then you shouldn't be in the closing state anyways. So I think the process begins way before that, where you educate the customer on what the product actually is and what solution it brings to their needs or their problem. So I think you begin by listening to the customer. I mean, there's been, Bruno, you've probably been on a couple of calls with me when I got on the phone with the customer and I said, okay, I would love to hear what your problems are. What are your pain points? What are your issues in your day-to-day responsibilities? And they would usually go on a 5-minute spiel about how they're having issues with this and that, and you can easily tell how your solution could provide value to that or not provide value to that. And I think once you hear them, you have to fully understand them. And if you think it's a good fit, and again, this happens in the first 5 minutes. And I've been on meetings where I said, you know what, listen, thank you for telling me what your needs are. Let me tell you what we do. And it might not be a solution for the needs that I just heard, because I don't see a connection there. And we can just, you can reclaim 15 minutes of your day, or if I tell you what our solutions are and you think in the back of your head, well, actually, I do have that need, or one of my colleagues has that need, then we move forward. Because I think a lot of times there's, not everyone understands what your product is when they first jump on a meeting. Okay, they might have misread a message from a business development rep or whatever the case may be. It's your responsibility as a salesperson to establish the customer's need and to communicate the solution. And so that happens, again, way before the closing part. And then if you give them the solution and they still want to proceed, then they're obviously in the place that they are, not by chance, but by they impress someone with their skills. And so you have to really, even if you don't feel like your solution is currently valuable to them now, they might not be expressing what their problem is, that they're actually seeing value in your solution. So as long as you're upfront, you're honest, you tell them exactly what your solution does, and they still want to move forward, then you have to just trust them, that they are doing things they're making the correct decision for their company. And so it really never gets to that point where I think, oh, this is the make or break moment. This is the ABC moment. And we've got to pump the brakes because I don't think this is a good fit. It should never get to that point.
We're going to talk. I agree, by the way. Also, I very much agree that quite often, assuming that the customer understands your product is an easy mistake to do. You should always assume they don't. They do not understand, yes, or they are very important blind spots in their understanding about what you do and what your product does. So I think that's an important point. And in a moment, I'd like to ask you about your entrepreneurial journey as well in the neurodiagnostics field, and also about social media. I think you have a lot of interesting stories about social media from, I heard a very claim to fame type of viral video some time ago. I noticed a lot of very active LinkedIn and video activity from you and your business. So I'll be very interested in hearing about your business and how you advise maybe people who are listening to us to use social media, whether it is for their job or for their business. Before that, I just want to make a general comment about, again, your path, your journey. And that's something I tell everybody who wants to hear me about sales. When I started my career, I did not do sales. I did not have the appreciation of how important sales is for any business and also for any career. It was a career mistake for me. I now realize from my own path as an entrepreneur that sales is the equivalent of core training, core strength in sports. And it touches on all the muscles. It's like if you do core training to be conditioned as a business person, which is a type of athlete, right? To be a business person, you need to be an athlete. And you could do many things, but the core strength you have, the closest thing to train these muscles is sales, because it touches on emotional intelligence, communication, understanding of the product, understanding of finance at some point, understanding of product, and touching on marketing as well. So I really applaud you for your understanding of that early in your career and the path that you have taken. So I'd love to hear about your business and then about social media as well, as we're getting to 7 minutes from the end. And then we'll finish with the takeaway from our call today.
Sure, absolutely. So I started a company that started slow and then ended up rapidly growing. The slow start had to do a lot with I was working with you all, and Bruno, I appreciate you giving me that opportunity. It was really great, and also compassionate of you to let me pursue my other interests as well. But once I felt like I'm going to have to dedicate more than 5-10 hours a week on this company, I thought it was the right time to jump and make that leap, and you all supported me very well on that, and so thank you for that. But what we do is we provide EEG monitoring for epileptic patients, whether they are in the ICU and they've been noticed to have seizures, or there's a mental change in the hospital setting, all the way up to epileptic patients who are trying to, let's say, wean off of their medications, and what they have to do is they have to put on an EEG. They go home. We monitor their brain waves to make sure that there are no seizures that happen once they are in that process of getting off their meds. And so that's our business model. And we have 30 plus technologists working for us. We have a few doctors working for us. We're all over the states. We're in the Midwest, Northeast. We're in the central part of the United States. And so we continue to grow. And now we're kind of trying to, we've made the decision that we are going to grow responsibly and sustain a manageable list of customers. That way we can not grow out of our boots and provide less of a service for our customers, but actually be thoughtful about how many customers we take on. And that's actually a nice problem to have. So that's our company.
That's super exciting, and we'll be following your success and your growth in social media and otherwise. Talking about social media, you broke the internet early on in your career, didn't you?
Right, that's what one article said is the picture that broke the internet. Yeah, in 2015. I don't know if anyone would remember the picture now, but in 2015, for the month of November, it was it was quite a journey.
So for those of you who don't know, Gil took it's called a birthday, right? That's a term, a picture of you as a selfie with your wife in the background, about supposedly to give birth pretty soon, and that picture got seen by, what is it, 30, 40 million people?
That's the estimation, about 30 to 40 million. Yeah.
Okay, so that's one claim to fame, and I'm sure you'll have other later on. And now you're still very active in social media. I saw your videos on LinkedIn. Now, is it a big part of your strategy for your business to grow and to build the visibility?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and Bruno, you and I both are fans of people like Gary Vee and other influencers who are, utilizing social media to get their presence out. And I think it's just a missed opportunity if you don't. So social media is if you use it correctly, it's free advertising. And I guess it's not completely free, because you have to put in the time, you have to put in the effort, you have to add value to people. It's much more than just posting, hey, this is my company, and my company's called Area MEEG, so we use that for example. Area MEEG is the best in providing seizure care for your patients. That doesn't add value to many people. Yeah, it might spark some interest from a manager or two, but if you really want to have your brand be kind of a household name, if you will, in the industry that you're in, then you have to provide value, and you have to gain the attention. You have to fight for the attention of people in your industry. And a lot of people think, well, I'll just go for the key decision makers in my industry. That's not a great strategy, because what you want to do is you want to get as many people's attention in your industry as possible, whether it be, in my case, a student going into EEG, or, a supervisor with 25 years of experience running a neurodiagnostics department at one of the biggest hospitals. Each one of those is an opportunity, again, for you to network. And so, there's plenty of times where I have, met or spoken or have interacted with a person coming into the industry, and they grow into a supervisor field, and they reach out to me and say, hey, Gil, you were my teacher 5 years ago in neurodiagnostics. I'm now the supervisor, and I would love to talk about your new company. I just saw a video, and you were talking about how you had this company. So the first thing you have to do is you have to get the person to actually, I always, so with marketing for me, and by the way, I have no marketing background. This is just kind of what I've been doing. So I know that if you tie an experience with an emotion, you're going to create more memory. I know that from just, that's a well-known fact.
Yeah, great conversation. Sorry for the interruption.
No thank you. We're about to be cut, but what you just said, it is a perfect closing. Thank you, by the way. And you said if you tie an emotion, say it again, because I really like it. An experience to an emotion, you've created a memory, right?
Exactly. If you tie an experience to emotion, your memory is a lot stronger about that experience. And so that's what I try to do.
Terrific. We'll make it the closing point. Thank you very much, Gil.
Great. I guess we'll take that as the ending. It was. Thank you very much, everyone.
I'm sorry?
It was a great conversation. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Bruno. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.